Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Prof.
Okay,
Good morning, Prof.
terima kasih. I was just testing. Uh, I couldn't get my audio system work just now. Oke, selamat pagi semua. Kita jumpa lagi dalam SSR 3064 demografi. Kita akan mula sebentar lagi lah. I'll take down this attendance. Have not taken the attendance, you can do so later on, ya. Oke. Selamat pagi semua dan harap semuanya sehat. Saya sehat dan ini minggu yang kelima, okay, the fifth of the semester, and the topic for our lecture for today is on population structure or demographic structure. All right. Sebelum itu, is there anything that you want to share with me? Question or comment before we start? Tak ada? Okay. Sebelum itu, let me check my chat. Okay, I take note of your attendance. Yang hantar pakai chat. Alright. So, boleh saya mula sekarang, eh?
Boleh.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, so population structures and characteristics untuk hari ini. Okay. Sebelum itu ingin saya ucapkan selamat berpuasa kepada para pelajar yang beragama Islam dan bagi yang lain, very good morning to all of you and stay safe. All right. Okay, so population structures and characteristics. Forget about this LU4. It's supposed to be LU5. My apologies for that. Okay, so what we do today, these are the targeted goals of our class. So at the end of this lecture, you should be able to illustrate population structure according to the age and sex component, right? And number two, you should be able to explain and compare the values of age dependency ratio. The third one is you should be able to explain and compare the values of sex ratio. Okay, and the fourth is you should be able to demonstrate and demonstrate the construction of population pyramid. In other words, if you're given a set of, you should be able to compile those data and construct a population pyramid based on the given data on the population. Number five, you should be able to explain the distribution of the population pyramid. And number six, you should be able to conduct analysis to explain the characteristics of a given population. Okay, so that is the goals of this or rather the learning objectives of this class for today. Yeah? Okay, so some key terms that we will come across. Yeah, first of all, looking at some static analysis. The first one that we will look at is the age-sex structure. We'll explain more on that terms later on, and then frequency distribution. All of you are aware of that or should know what it is all about. Yeah, but talking about frequency distribution here, distribution of the population in terms of age and so on. Yeah, and also the percentage of distribution. And then we'll explain the terms age dependency ratio, sex ratio, and population pyramid. Yeah. Then towards the end, we will be looking at the social cultural structure other than sex and gender. Okay, so what is the importance of these topics on population structure and characteristics? Okay, first one is if we have the knowledge of the characteristics of the population, for example, in terms of age structure, how many or what percentage of the population belongs to the younger group, the middle age group, the older group, and so on, and also how many male and female of certain age group and so on. That would be good for planning purposes. Yeah, good for planning purposes, both for public as well as private. For example, if you know how many how many of the populations are below the age of 15, for example, or schooling age, for example, then and that information can be used for purpose of planning for schools, um, facilities for youth, and so on and so forth. Yeah, both by the public, by the government, as well as by the private sector. Now, for example, the what do you call this? Uh, Telepon ataupun handphone provider kan, um, seperti Maxis, Celcom, what else? Yang Digi dan sebagainya. This information will be useful for them because they will know how many of certain people their target their market, yeah, for their product and so on. All right, so it's useful for planning purposes. Okay, I've just mentioned about the there's a planning in terms of projection for school requirement. If we know how many at the schooling age, right, children and so on, that will give us some idea on how many schools are required, how many teachers, in terms of health services, if you know how many old people or people who are sick, particularly if you're dealing with old age people who are likely to need more health services than any other group of people, for example. And also in terms of projection, in terms of food and housing as well. At the same time, the social relationship between or depends on the relative number of male and female and the composition of each age. Okay, if there is a balance between number of male and female, then the social relationship should be okay. But if there is drastic, differences in terms of the number of males and female, it could bring some kind of social, um, uh, I would say a problem, but maybe a little bit of of apa namanya masalah sedikit lah. I mean relationship problems I'm talking about. Okay, so unbalanced proportion can bring or can cause some impact on social roles and also on patterns, yeah, cultural patterns. Sebagai contoh, for example, in terms of marriage, um, and fertility pattern. Um, there was a serious problem actually in China. Even until now, I think the impact is still felt in China, where the number of female much less than the number of male, and that was because of the one-child policy that was practiced in China way back, um, let's say, prior to, I think this is 1950s, 1960s, yeah, okay, where they practiced one-child policy. The idea, sorry, 1960s, 70s, where they practice one-child policy with the idea to reduce high rate population growth. But what happened was, because in the Chinese culture, prefer male child rather than females. One of the reasons why you have, at least for that few cohorts, yeah, of the populations, the males outnumbered females. So there was a problem. So some males remain unmarried because there's the number of females aren't there to meet the or to match the number of males, adult males. Sorry. Okay. Ataupun in terms of labor participation as well. So we have too many, maybe of certain age group, older age group, yeah, retired people, for example, then you may have problem with labor force, yeah, ataupun too many younger population but very few of working age group, for example, yeah, as well as sex role within the society as well. So these are the possible impact of imbalance, yeah, between the groups, yeah, in the population, particular male and female, and also the different age group. So it's quite important, yeah, in terms of knowing the information with regard to the age structure or population structure. Okay, so what is population structure or composition? All right, so the structure or composition of a population is indeed the product of three major or three main factors ataupun demographic factors, yeah, which are fertility. Fertility itu termasuk maksudnya adalah kelahiran, ya, mortality atau kematian, and also migration. So these are the three main demographic factors which has an impact on the structure of the population. And the most studied aspect of structure are age and sex, ya, dari segi umur dan juga dari segi seks ataupun gender. Okay. So other aspects you can have, you can look at the population in terms of race, in terms of language, in terms of religion, and other social or occupational groups. You can look at that as well, yeah, looking at that in terms of looking at the structure of population in terms of this other aspect as well. But the main one, very, very common ones, is the age and sex structure. Okay, all right. So we look closely at the most basic elements of population composition, which is the sex and age structure. Okay, so right, so age sex structure, this is where the age distribution ataupun taburan umur bagi satu populasi, it gives the exact figure or percentage of population for each group category. Okay, each group category for both male and female. Okay, so age is measured of course, by the precise year of the last birth date. And this is how they do it. So how do you determine the age? It is measured by the year of the last birth date. Yeah, precise year of the last birth date. Yeah. And then they are arranged, or in terms of distribution, they are categorized into range of 5. Contohnya 0 to 4, 5 to 9, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so each category contains about 5 different age group. Itu maksudnya. Okay. All right. So we can describe the age sex structure in terms of frequency distribution, right? Berapa ramai ya bilangan dalam sesuatu kategori, ataupun kita boleh convert to percentage of the population below 15 years old, for example, or what percentage of populations are aged between 20 to 25 years old, for example. Ya, the frequency ini merujuk kepada the absolute numbers, ya, absolute numbers, while a percentage looking at the how many percent of the total. The other description of age structure can be done or can be seen from the median age. Ya, nanti kita akan tunjukkan why median age is important as a way to describe the age and also particularly age distribution. Yeah? And then also we can describe the age sex structure in terms of ratios, and there are ratios that we are looking at, particularly age dependency ratio, and the other is the sex ratio. Okay, we'll look at that more closely later on. And then in terms of a graph, yeah, we can present the age sex structure in terms of population pyramid. Yeah, in other words, the number or the frequency or the percentage of the populations are arranged, yeah, according to the different age group, and normal situation, it would be like a pyramid. That's why it's called population pyramid, where the number of younger populations are bigger, and then gradually as you go to the age group, become less and less as you go to the top. Ya, pada peringkat umur yang tua, contohnya beyond 60, 65 so on, the number of populations are much smaller. So it's tipping toward the top, and it forms like a pyramid, yeah, with a broad base. Okay, all right. So this is what this is how the distribution. Just an example here, yeah. So population structure is the makeup of all composition of the population. For example, age and gender of the population. So as I said, this is a common one. And we look at the structure of the population in terms of age and also in terms of gender. All right. So on one side we have the male group, and on the other side is the female group. Yeah, this is the different age group. Ya, setiap satu ni kumpulan umur. Ya. So the population structure is often shown using a population pyramid, and population pyramids also change with development. I mean, the shape of the pyramid change with development. For example, in developed countries, you see that the size of the population in the middle here are a little bit bigger, and the size of the population at the lower level here are smaller. So it doesn't really look like a pyramid in the traditional form. Yeah. Okay. So again, that's the one about Asian structure, the pyramid, yeah. Male on one side and female on the other side. Jadi, so in other words, we split the population into two, tetapi menggunakan kategori yang sama. Jadi contohnya berapa orang lelaki yang berumur 0 hingga 4 tahun dan juga berapa orang perempuan yang berumur 0 hingga 4 tahun. So actually the length of this bar here indicates the number of people in the population who are aged in that particular group, right? So it can be in terms of percentage, it can be in terms of real ataupun exact number. Tapi masalahnya kalau kita, if you are doing a study on the whole population of Malaysia, for example, where they are in each group can be a few 100,000 and so on. So if you use numbers here, it can be problematic, yeah. So to simplify, it's better to use a percentage rather than the exact number, yeah. All right. Okay, so how do we construct the frequency distribution? Okay, first of all, kita perlu ada categories, ya, ataupun categorization. In other words, group of cases, age, sex, yeah, 5 years interval. That would be the way we categorize, yeah. So 5-year age group, and according to age group, and also on the other side is gender, right? So then we construct, we determine, yeah, the frequency distribution by age class. First of all, for both sexes, kedua-duanya. Then we separate for males and female. Contohnya, kalau kita ada dalam kelas, let's say 0 to 4, ya. Contohnya kita sebagai totalnya, both male and female, maybe we have 100,000. Okay. And then lepas tu kita split the two, separate them. How many of those 100,000 are males and how many are females? Okay. Tapi oleh kerana nilainya terlampau besar, jadi kita rather use percentage lah nanti, ya, when you really construct. Otherwise we have too many figures, ya, di situ. Okay, so split into two, into both male and female. And then if you need to compare the distribution of male and female in the same age class, we use a percentage distribution, ya, comparing compare on the same basis tadi lah, ya. Jadi kita gunakan percentage, ya. Okay. It is also interesting that it is legitimate to compare man and female percentage for any given age class in those columns. Jadi kita boleh buat perbandingan dalam peringkat umur, setiap kategori umur, how many are female, how many are male, ya. Jadi kita boleh compare. Okay. Now this is just an example of how you can do it. So let's say I'm using a different category instead of 0 4 5, yeah. 0 to 5 age group. Right. Yang pertama, how many male, how many female, and then total up. Yeah. Dan the same thing untuk yang berumur 6 hingga 10 tahun, kita ada bilangan lelaki dan juga bilangan perempuan dalam kategori umur tersebut, and you have the total for age, ya. So untuk setiap age group kita akan buat, ya, hitung, ya, penghitungan, count the number of people. Ya, jadi kita boleh gunakan ini daripada mana sumber? Remember sumber apa nama ni? Data untuk demografi by using census. Ya, jadi dengan ada from the census we can find. Dalam borang sensus tu perlu ada apa nama peringkat umur, ya, anak berapa umur, berapa orang. Okay, so based on that kita boleh buat apa nama menentukan berapa orang yang berumur bawah 10 tahun, okay, secara keseluruhan, ya, when you total up. Okay, so that's how you do it, ya. Untuk setiap kategori kita buat total up, ya, and then split into male and female lah. Okay, so itu dari segi nak membuat ataupun di count the distribution, ya, frequency distribution of population by gender and by age group tadi. So how do we identify whether a population is young or old population? Jadi kadang-kadang ada terdengar ataupun pernah baca, mungkin kamu pernah baca mengatakan bahawa negara A contohnya dipanggil sebagai young population, and another country is known as an old population. Jadi there are two approaches, ya, dua pendekatan yang boleh digunakan untuk mengenal pasti sama ada suatu populasi itu populasi yang muda ataupun populasi yang tua, right? Okay. Yang pertama tadi adalah the first approach is what is known as from the 65 years and above approach, ya, dari melihat kepada yang berumur 65 tahun ke atas, ya, pendekatan. So how many people or what percentage of people belongs to that group? So based using, if you using this approach, ya, approach pertama ni, a country is considered as old or old age population, contohnya sekiranya populasi yang berumur 65 tahun ke atas telah mencapai 10%, ya, ke atas, ya. In other words, when more than 10% of the populations are age 65 and above. Okay. Jadi kita di Malaysia, we are quite close to that. There's some, I've come across reports, some of this report regarding the status of Malaysian old age, ya. Tapi there's some inconsistency. Ada yang mengatakan kita dah mencapai like 9%, ada yang telah mencapai mengatakan kita dah we are close to an old age society, something like that. So there has been a lot of conflicting reports. Yeah? So I don't know, but we have to look. What we can do is once we have collected the data for 2020 or 2021. Then we will know exactly how many of the population in Malaysia are age 65 and above. Okay, itu yang pertama. And then on the other hand, if the population who are age 65 and above are less than 5%, that country or that population is known as a young population. Okay. So old population, young population. Old population when the percentage of those who are age 65 and above more than 10%, and the country is considered young when the total number of people age 65 and above are less than 5%. Okay, yaitu yang pertama, ya. The second approach is looking at the younger group. Okay, looking at the younger group. And that is the 15 years and below, ya, 15 years and below. Ini pendekatan kedua. So kalau kita gunakan ini, so a country may be considered or can be considered as old when less than 25% of the population 15 and below, ya. Jadi kalau populasi yang berumur 15 tahun ke bawah kurang daripada 25%, maka sesebuah negara tersebut boleh dikenali sebagai an old population. Okay, population. And then, on the other hand, if the proportion of the population age 15 and below more than 35%, maka negara tersebut adalah dikenali sebagai a young population. Okay, so old population or young population, there are two ways of looking at it, two approaches to look at it. Okay, if you use the first approach, then if the percentage is more than 10%, age 65 and above, then the population is known as old. On the other hand, if the percentage is less than 5%, the population is considered as young. Okay, the second approach yang boleh digunakan adalah untuk melihat kepada kumpulan yang berumur 15 tahun ke bawah lah. Right, so kalau persentasenya kurang daripada 25%, maka ianya menunjukkan bahawa populasi tersebut adalah populasi yang tua ataupun old age population. Sebaliknya, kalau lebih daripada 35% bagi mereka yang berumur 15 tahun ke bawah, maka populasi berkenaan dikategorikan sebagai populasi muda ataupun young population. Okay, that's how you determine whether population is a young population or an old population. Okay, so by the way, looking at this either through the first approach or second approach, if you look at the the developed countries, most of the developed countries can be considered as old population. Kerana apa? Kerana if you use the first one, ya, lebih daripada 10% daripada penduduk mereka berumur 65 tahun ke atas. Okay, and also using the second approach juga samalah, di mana the number of young populations are less than 25%. Yeah, this is because of the reduction in the birth rate. Ya, fertility rate di kalangan negara yang sudah maju adalah rendah. Nah, dibandingkan dengan beberapa negara yang sedang membangun, contohnya some countries like some African countries, Nigeria, and also in some countries in Asia too, where the number of young people 15 years and below are still very big, yeah, more than 35%, for example, ataupun where the old age populations are still below 5%, right? So in other words, most developing countries or less developed countries have young population, and the developed nations have old population. Jadi kita di Malaysia, we are approaching an old population. We are not quite there yet, yeah, but we are closer to that. The trend is that every country is moving towards an old population because people are living longer. That's one reason why, yeah. So fertility turun, that's faktor pertama. Mortality juga turun. In other words, people the rate of death turun, so people are living longer. So more old age people, all right, and also less number of young people lah because of the reduced rate of fertility. Jadi dua faktor yang menyumbang kepada whether or not negara tersebut tua ataupun muda. Okay, any question? Ada soalan?
So far, okay.
Boleh faham ya?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Tapi kalau ada soalan, you guys can ask anytime lah. Yeah, you don't have to wait until the lecture is done. Yeah. Right. Okay. So moving on. Right. So I mentioned about the fact that median age is also important characteristics. Yeah. Kerana median age ini sorry, let me correct that one. It's not media, median sebenarnya. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Median age. Kalau masih ingat your statistics, and you still remember the normal distribution curve, yeah. So median actually is the point where it divides the population into two equal half, ya. Di mana separuh adalah kurang daripada median age dan separuh lagi adalah tua daripada median age. Okay, so in other words, median age divides population into two equal half. Yes, any question? Ada? Okay. You're not asking question, are you? No, I suppose not. Okay, so let me continue. So median age is used to interpret the average age distribution, of course, yeah, just like mean, yeah. When mean and median falls at the same point, that is a perfect normal distribution, of course, yeah. All right, so you will split the population into two equal half, the younger half and also the older half of the population, okay. And median age also gives indication of the lifespan of the population. Nanti saya akan terangkan ya, how it give that indication. Okay. In other words, kalau median age itu tinggi, maka ianya menunjukkan that the population seems to be, or the population will be older population. Yeah. So the higher the median age, the older the population is. Okay. Let me show you with this. Yeah. Let me show you this. Jadi, let's look at the graph down here. This is a contoh distribution of population. Now, kalau mediannya adalah towards the lower end, ya, to the younger age group, maknanya that there are more young people than there are old people, in other words. Okay. So what it means is that the population tends to be younger. Okay. On the other hand, if you look where the median is towards the upper end of the or right side of the distribution, so that would be indicating that the population is older population anyway. Okay, so how do we know if a population is of younger structure or older structure? Jadi yang kalau kita gunakan median ini, apabila median itu tinggi, maka ianya merupakan menunjukkan populasi itu adalah populasi yang tua. Kalau nilai median itu median age itu rendah, maka ia menunjukkan bahawa populasi tersebut adalah merupakan populasi yang muda. Now, easy way to do that, ya. Katakan median age adalah 17 tahun. Okay. So in other words, that splits the whole population into two, ya, into two equal half. Jadi separuh berumur 17 ke bawah, separuh lagi adalah lebih daripada 17 tahun. And if we assume that the distribution is normal, maka apa yang kita boleh jangkakan daripada itu adalah the most likely maximum age untuk populasi tersebut adalah 17 campur 17, that would be berapa? 17, 34 tahun ya, more or less on average. Alright, so that's how old people are living in that particular population, for example. Right? Of course, paling rendah adalah 0 lah ataupun 1. Right? Dibandingkan dengan median age yang katakan 35. Okay, in other words 35 tahun itu membagikan populasi kepada 2 equal half. Jadi of course yang paling rendah adalah 1 bulan ataupun 1 tahun, dan again we are assuming that the perhaps this one is not a good. I was trying to find a good illustration. Maybe this one boleh juga lah, but it may be difficult for you to look at. Katakan kita ada normal curve, and then we assume that distribution population is normal. Jadi let's say kita kata tadi 35 tahun sebagai median age, maka we can expect that from one end to the other adalah 35 di setengah sini, dan yang di hujung sini adalah tambah 35 lah, so in other words 70 tahun ya, on the far end. So in the lower end here will be 0 or 1. So the range is from 0 on average. We're talking about on average. Jadi kita boleh katakan bahawa populasi tersebut adalah merupakan populasi yang tua. So that again this one can be used lah. Ini menunjukkan bahawa lebih ramai yang tua, ya, that makes the population ramai yang tua lah maksudnya. Okay. Alright, so to identify whether population is young and old, we can use the median age tadi. Okay, so this is the yang digunakan lah untuk classifying population. Kalau it's below 20 years, ya, kalau the median age is below 20 years, yeah, it could be 19, 18, and so on and so forth. Then that population will be considered as a young population. Now, boleh bandingkan dengan teknik ataupun approach yang kita nyatakan awal tadi ya, berkenaan dengan the 65 years age approach and also 15 and below age approach pun another methods, but median age is another alternative ya. Kalau 20 hingga 29 tahun dianya, ataupun 21 hingga 29 tahun, more or less about that. Betul lah, below 20 years, this is 2029, that is considered as intermediate population, ya, neither old or young. Ya, kalau ianya lebih daripada 30 tahun, the median age is more than 30, that population is considered as old population. Okay. So median age rises, ya, apabila median age itu meningkat, maka population is can be considered as an aging population. Aging population ya. Populasi yang tua ataupun towards an aging population. Sebaliknya, kalau median age drops, ya, maka populasi tersebut dikatakan sebagai younging. This is the first time I had that term, younging population. Yeah, in other words, a tendency for the population to get younger in terms of the distribution of the population. Yeah, so aging and younging population. Jadi that's why middle age ini boleh digunakan untuk melihat sama ada negara tersebut, sebuah negara adalah an old population or towards an aging population ataupun towards a younger population. Okay, I've just show you these are some statistics earlier on. Ini yang ada di sini is based on 2009 estimate dulu lah, right? Figure from the World Factbook, CIA World Factbook 2010. Okay, so if you look at these countries here, okay, Afghanistan, the median age is 17.6 untuk lelaki dan juga perempuan. No difference between male and female in Afghanistan. Then the Australia, you see there are a lot of difference, almost double. The median age in Australia is 36 for male and 38.1 for female. Generally, by the way, umur on average, perempuan adalah lebih tinggi daripada lelaki, on average. In other words, women can live slightly longer than men, right? Some reasons behind that lah. Ada, kalau nak cerita panjang, boleh kita look at some studies, some social cultural factors which affect that. Contohnya dari segi pekerjaan, dari segi risiko, risk, dan sebagainya, and lifestyle and so on. Okay, so again, we're looking at this, Tadi Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Uganda. So what are these countries? These are less developed countries, Uganda, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, these are less developed countries. Now compare that with Australia, even China now. That China by this time they have achieved better socio-economic conditions, and also Hong Kong, look at Hong Kong and Japan. Japan is probably the highest in terms of the median age in the world, di dunia. Okay, in other words, a lot of old age people, populasi yang berumur 65 ke atas tu sangat tinggi. The most number of in terms of percentage, in terms of percentage atau proportion, Japan has more old age people that compared to any other country in the world. Okay, jadi maksudnya di sini, if you look at this again, we are looking at average, maksudnya kalau kita duduk di Afghanistan ataupun Uganda, right, the average lifespan could be just about 30 plus years old, 30 lebih tahun on average, because this split, remember this number here, split the population into two equal half, jadi yang separuhnya kurang 17 tahun, separuh lebih daripada 17 tahun. So you can see that the lifespan adalah sangat rendah dibandingkan dengan negara-negara seperti Hong Kong, seperti Japan dan sebagainya. I was trying to find figure for Malaysia, so I just came out with I quote the 2010, which I could find, and also in 2020. Jadi kita kalau dibandingkan dengan negara Afghanistan, dibandingkan dengan Uganda, dengan Bangladesh, and many other less developed countries, we are doing better. In other words, our life, we dari segi if you look back at the scale tadi kan, are we old or young? There we are. Kita tadi 26, 30. We are about here. We're not old yet. We are at the intermediate stage. So negara seperti Afghanistan, Uganda dengan Bangladesh is considered as a young population. Okay, boleh faham?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. Kalau tak faham, jangan takut tanyalah. Otherwise, I will assume that you understand. Okay, kalau dah faham, kita move forward. Move forward, Alright, jadi itu berkenaan dengan median age. So the next one is the concept of or the terms known as the age dependency ratio. Age dependency ratio. In other words, we are looking as a group of people who are dependent on others lah. In other words, ya. So the ratio-nya adalah di sini the of people who are not working, yeah, who are dependent on others, and these are people who are age less than 15 years old, and also people who are 65 and above. With the assumption di sini, yeah, with the assumption that people who are less than 15 years old are not working, yeah, or not working yet. Although in real life, you may have in one or two countries in the world where children are also engaged in labor force, ya. I mean secara non-legal dan sebagainya lah. Started 10 years old, 9 years old, they start working, ya. But generally, using United Nations punya definition, these are children and they shouldn't be working and non-working age. Dan yang 65 ke atas itu adalah people who are retired. Okay. Again, the assumption is that these people are not active, economically non-active. They don't contribute. They don't work anymore. That's the assumption. Tetapi caveat here ataupun in some places also there are people who are still working, actively contributing to the economy. Talk about businessmen. There is no limit to how old, how far they can go in terms of working in their life. Jadi mereka mungkin akan bekerja sehingga umur 80 until they cannot work, until they cannot go to the office and so on and so forth. Yeah. Jadi but this is the average. Yeah. We're talking about this average. Yeah. So 65 and above, and those who are below 15 years old, those are considered as the dependents. Okay. Who are they depend on? They are depending on those who are still working or working age group lah. Okay. Jadi the working age group are those who are between 15 to 64 years old. Okay. And the formula is you total up those who are 14 and below plus the number of populations who are 65 and above, and divide by the total number of people who are aged between 15 to 64. Okay, and then you time by, and that will be the ratio, and then you time by 100 to get the percentage. Okay, so it is a measure of age composition, by the way. Yeah, it's a measure, a form of measurement for age composition. And it has some important welfare implication definitely. Kerana apa? Kerana kalau lebih ramai, contohnya yang berumur 65 tahun ke atas, maka keperluan kumpulan ini adalah sangat tinggi lah, ya. For example, if there are more people age 65 and above, let's say a lot of people are umur 80, 70 lebih dan sebagainya. And the tendency is that these people needs special care, health facilities dan sebagainya. Right? Dan juga dari segi golongan and also in terms of support, ya, to provide for them food, daily care and all that. And untuk yang berumur 14 tahun ke bawah tu, those are non-working age group, these are children who needs support, yeah, from the parents and so on. Jadi mempunyai welfare implications, ya, not only to the family but also to the government as well, ya, kepada pihak kerajaan. Okay, so attempt to obtain the number of unemployed persons, those very old tadi, ya, 65 ke atas, dan juga yang muda 14 tahun ke bawah, who must be supported by one member of the labor force. Jadi berapa orang? Jadi what we do is this is what the ratio is untuk berapa orang yang perlu disokong, ya, perlu dibantu oleh seorang yang bekerja. Okay, We need to find that out, ya. Kerana ianya akan menunjukkan the level of dependency. Yeah. Okay, so alternatively, of course, the working age is recorded as 18 to 64 sebab those who are below 18 are still in school actually, yeah. So below 18, yeah, correct. Still in school, so they're not, even though they are more than 14 ataupun 15, but they're not working because of the status as school children, ya, untuk pergi sekolah. So they're not working. So basically, they are still considered as dependent, ya, young age dependency. Okay, so kalau kita gunakan this is in developed countries by the way, ya. Bagi negara yang kurang membangun, formula yang ini digunakan. Tetapi di negara yang sudah maju, maka the working age is considered from 18 to 64. Okay, and also another one, in some poor countries, including Malaysia, I think, where the working age is considered from 15 to 59. Jadi umur 60 dah pension. Right? Macam saya sudah pension, tapi I'm still working lah. So I'm one of those who are supposed to be retired, not working, not contributing economically, but I'm those who are the exceptional group lah yang masih bekerja dan masih menyumbang kepada ekonomi keluarga dan juga masyarakat lah. I'm still contributing my income tax anyway, monthly income tax and all that. Okay, although my income tax is slightly less as I retire. Okay, so jadi itu berkenaan dengan age dependency ratio, ya. Jadi bergantung kepada sebuah negara, tetapi ini adalah yang umum lah, ya. Yang umumnya kita gunakan formula ini. Tapi dari setengah negara mungkin berbeza sedikit dari segi kumpulan yang masih bekerja, ya, dan the working age group, ya. So those outside of this working age group are considered as the non-working group lah, yang mesti disokong, yang mesti dibantu maksud saya. Okay, yang memerlukan bantuan, in other words. Okay, so let's look at some of this. This is quite interesting actually. Looking at the world population data, this is a very important site that you can look at, yeah, when you look at demography. Okay, so let's click on this. And I'll share with you the site, where you can get some important information. Okay, let's stop this share and I show you. Okay, this is the one. Okay. Go back. Okay, this is the one, yeah. The website tadi on, and this is interactive one, yeah. Interactive website, the population data sheet, yeah. So the population right now is about 7.8 billion, with China still the number one, contributing 1.4 billion to the world population, right? So from this you can look at some information. For example, we're talking about population, young population, old population, and all that, ya. Jadi mengikut data yang ada sekarang ini, the youngest region in the world is Middle Africa, ya, Middle Africa, where 46% of the population is under the age of 15. So the implication is sangat besar sini, ya. 46%, ya. All the people are under age 15, and assuming they are not working, yeah, maka there's a lot to support, ya, a lot the number of people that need to be supported, ya, yang bergantung kepada orang lain, ahli keluarga dan sebagainya, adalah sangat tinggi, right? Sangat tinggi. Okay, all right, that's just one example, and then okay, that's right. Then you can look at the issue of population decline, for example, where the number of birth, apa nama itu semakin berkurangan, ya, contributing to the less apa nama itu grup yang muda lah, kumpulan yang berumur 14 tahun ke bawah itu semakin kurang because of a lower level of fertility. Yeah. So, for example, working age population. Example here is South America, where the working. Okay, let's look at this. Map, interactive graph here. Age distribution by sub-region. Yeah, for example, in South America, this is comparing the American continent lah. In South America, the percentage of, you can see the percentage here, 15 and below is 23%. So if you use the criteria yang kita lihat awal tadi, it is less than 23%, so it is considered as not as a young population. Okay, and those who are aged 15 to 64 is very big, 68%. Jadi ini merupakan negara yang don't have to worry much about supporting the non-working group lah, yeah, because the percentage is very big, yeah, 68%, and the old age 65 and above adalah 9%. Kalau kita lihat menggunakan percentage ini, so formula tadi yang berumur bawah 15 tahun dengan umur 65 ke atas, kita campur, ya. Kita campur 9% plus 23%, that would be berapa? 32% kan? Divide by 68%, and you can get the ratio there, yeah. Yeah. So in terms of that, they're not the dependency ratio is considered as low, yeah. Bandingkan dengan in North America, and this is where I'm sorry, yeah. So dari segi dependency-nya lebih kepada yang berumur kurang 15 tahun lah. But overall dependency ratio masih okay, yeah. Compared to Caribbean, where the about the same, yeah, not much different, 10%, 24%, slightly higher compared to Central America, and this is where the difference is. Di mana Central America, these are countries between US and also the Venezuela, Brazil, and so on. Some of those countries there, yeah, Central America, where the population age 15 and below is 28%. So kalau kita menggunakan kriteria yang kita gunakan awal tadi, when it is more than 28%, that is considered as is it all or melebihi 28%, ya. It's quite high, ya. Tetapi yang tua ni sikit saja, 7% saja, right? So I think this kalau kita bandingkan ini dengan dua di atas ni, this is a slightly younger population, ya. A young population. This is intermediate, and this one here can be considered as the old population, and this is the Canada dengan itulah dengan US, ya, where the percentage of 65 and above 17%. That's way beyond the 10% mark tadi kan. Okay, and then you look at this one here. Those who are age 15 and below, below 15, sorry, only 18%. So jadi So in this case, the difference between this and this here, walaupun dependency di sini mungkin apa nama tu tinggi sebagainya, tapi di sini the people who needs a lot of support are those who are in the old age group rather than the younger population. Okay, jadi you can look at this. So this is a very important side. I suppose even for your project tu boleh gunakan statistik di sinilah, right, untuk melihat kepada you know some statistic, the current statistic yang ada. Yeah. You can choose regions, yeah. You can menu, for example. Sorry. Or you can download data set. Yeah, the data set you can download, but you have to provide your info lah. Belum you and identify whether you're student or for classroom dan sebagainya. Okay, banyak benda sini which you can look at ya. Looking at the data, macam-macam data yang mereka ada ya. Life expectancy at birth, international total fertility rate dan sebagainya. Okay, jadi you can click on this. I'm sorry, tak dapat pula. Oops, sorry. Anyway, okay, let me stop share. Saya tertekan tadi. So let me reload on this ya. Reload balik. Okey, jadi nampak ke tadi saya tunjukkan ataupun saya cakap-cakap sendiri ke tadi? Did you manage to see the world population data tadi?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you can look at that link lah ya untuk melihat kepada even on dependency ratio tadi ya. Okay, seterusnya. Okay, as dependency ratio, it describe the relative well-being of the population in a way, yeah. In a way, it help to describe the relative well-being, yeah, of the population. For more industrialized countries or developed countries, they have proportionately fewer children. Sebagai contoh tadi, America, North America, Canada, US combined, they have less than 18%, yeah, about 18% of the children below 15 years old. Okay, and the working age group support less of this young dependents tadi. Ya. Jadi dibandingkan dengan negara-negara yang sedang membangun, di mana populasi yang berumur 15 tahun ke bawah seperti Central Africa tadi kan sampai 46%. Yeah, so the number of people to support this group adalah ramai dibandingkan dengan in the developed countries. Okay, right. So compared to the poorer and also rural nations. So the difference in the proportion of children adalah impact on the fertility rate tadi. Yeah. In other words, the fertility rate actually is the one that influence the size of the proportion of children who are age 15 and below. Okay, apabila fertility rate turun, maka the number of birth akan turun dan the number of newborn, maksud saya lah, akan so less number of young people. overall. Yeah. Okay. This is just another illustration. For example, in terms of looking at how many people need to support all people, for example, right? For example, in the year 2000, ianya memerlukan 15 orang yang bekerja support, right? And old men yang tak bekerja, elderly population. So that is quite easy kan, 15 orang untuk membantu seorang. Tetapi by 2004, the number of old age has increased. Jadi the proportion of working people to support one old person semakin berkurangan, because the number of old age sudah meningkat. Ya. Right. So less people are supporting one person. The other way of looking at is that in the year 2000, right? The number of old age kurang, jadi tidak memerlukan the burden, ya, the burden kepada yang bekerja adalah rendah. Okay. Jadi di sini in 2004, the burden on the working people meningkat, right? The burden for them to provide for ataupun untuk support old age tadi. Now that's two ways of looking at it. Yeah. Okay. So this is just an illustration of elderly dependency ratio. Okay. So what are the implications of high dependency ratio? Right. Number one, a high dependency ratio can cause serious problem for a country. Yeah. In other words, if there are too many to support, yeah, either old age ataupun children, yeah, it can cause a serious problem for a country if a large proportion of government expenditure is on health. Jadi keperluan bantuan kesihatan, health facilities meningkat, ya, disebabkan oleh peningkatan golongan tua. And then also in terms of social security and education, if you're talking about younger population who are schooling age and so on, yeah, which are most used by the youngest and also the oldest in the population. Jadi bagi yang tua dia lebih kepada health and social security, bagi yang muda adalah lebih kepada educational needs, ya, educational needs. Okay. Alright, jadi of course lah selain daripada makanan or that kan, right? So that will be a burden to the government, not only to the family. Yeah. So the fewer people of working age, maksudnya kalau golongan yang bekerja, kumpulan yang bekerja semakin sedikit, the fewer the people who can support schools. Yeah, because these are people who earns money, the income and so on, and get tax dicukai untuk membantu, sekolah, retirement pensions, disability pension, and other assistance to the youngest and the oldest member of population. Yeah, so who are considered the most vulnerable members of the society. Jadi so it depends on the working age group. The bigger the working age group, the better it is. The fewer the working age group in relation to the total population, the worse it can become lah. In other words, banyak masalah dihadapi, right? Because less people to support the population who really needs the assistance and all that. Okay. All right. So that is the age dependency ratio. Okay. Ada dua kumpulan. Let me just summarize that again. the two groups, yeah, who are dependent here. One is those who are below 15 years old ataupun children, and the other groups group of dependents are those who are age 65 and above, ataupun in some countries, contohnya di Malaysia kita gunakan umur contohnya 60 tahun ke atas, ya. Alright, so those are the people who are considered as dependent. And the other group, which is the working group, and those are people who support, ya, the non-working group tadi. Itu yang dikenali sebagai the age dependency ratio tadi, right? The ratio of non-working group to the working group. Yeah. So some countries they have high, in other words, large number of people who need support, who are still dependent, and in some countries they have low, right? And also itu yang pertama, ya. Yang keduanya adalah dari segi golongan yang memerlukan support tadi ataupun yang dependent tadi. Negara yang sudah maju tends to be more old age rather than children. Tapi di negara yang kurang membangun ataupun less developed countries, the number of dependents are higher among children rather than old age. Okay, so these are a few things that you need to take into account. Yeah. Okay, any question before I proceed to the next one, the next topic?
So far, okay.
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you. Okay, so sex ratio. Okay, so sex ratio compare the composition of male to female. Ya, bilangan lelaki dibandingkan dengan perempuan. So it's based on the number of male to every 100 female. Contohnya bagi 100 orang perempuan, berapa orang lelaki maksudnya. Alright. Okay, so it is basically number of male divided by the number of female times by 100. Alright. So kadang-kadang dikenali sebagai, sorry, let me, oops, sorry. What did I do? Saya tutup tadi kah? Kejap. I lose that slide just now, kan?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back and show another one. We've gone through this. Okay. Yeah. I wanted to do this. Yeah. Boleh nampak ni?
Yes, Prof.
Okay. So this is also known as the masculinity ratio lah. Kadang-kadang dikenali sebagai masculinity ratio. Masculinity ratio kerana apa? Kerana men are supposed to be more masculine. Itulah, ya. In other words, so men are arbitrarily put above, yeah, the number of women. Okay, instead of female divided by number of male. So it's always male over female, ya. So the ratio reduces as age, ya. Jadi ratio ni akan turun ataupun berkurangan as age increases, as men faces higher risk of death. Itu sebab mengapa the lifespan of men compared to women is less. Ya. Sebab mereka has the or faces higher risk of death compared to women due to differences in job nature and also responsibilities ya. Jadi kerja again we're talking about average ya di sini ya. For example, men tends to take up more risky jobs ya, risiko yang tinggi. Bekerja di tempat yang where the risk is very high for example. Tapi women kurang sikit lah ya terlibat dalam bidang-bidang tersebut. So that contribute to early death among men. Ya, jadi itu yang menyebabkan the lifespan on average for men tends to be lower compared to women. Okay, jadi apabila again compared kita boleh gunakan apa nama ni tadi pyramid tadi lah. Kalau kita lihat kepada pyramid di atas itu the top where you will find the number of male dibandingkan dengan female adalah kurang ya as you go on the top. Itu maksudnya as age increases men the number of men less than women. So generally sex ratio during birth will not fall below 105. Nah, itu secara apa nama ni natural lah ya. In other words, yang dilahirkan secara average ya in the population it will not fall below 105. So the tendency to have more male birth than there are female birth. In other words, kalau 105 itu maksudnya 105 male born for every 100 female born. Ya. Okay, so itu secara natural ya. But there are definitely there's some factors which may have an impact on the sex ratio. Sebagai contoh tadi kalau boleh kita lihat kepada China, but not only China, I think maybe one or two countries ataupun budaya di dunia ini yang mungkin mempunyai preference for male, for example, ataupun female for that matter, ya, yang boleh mengganggu ataupun can disturb the ratio lah, yang mengubah ratio secara natural tadi. So how do we interpret the sex ratio? So kalau 100, that is the point of balance lah, maksudnya equal number of male, ya, to female. Kalau more than one, if the ratio is more than 100, maknanya there are more male in the population than there are female. Sebaliknya, kalau nilainya kurang daripada 100, less than 100, meaning there are more female and less male. Okay, ya, itu ya, very simple lah, ya maksudnya. Tapi dari segi implikasinya banyak, ya. But the standard sex ratio is between acceptable lah. This is talking about acceptable sex ratio is between 95 to 102. Yeah. So within that value is considered as quite normal, standard, yeah, standard ratio. So mungkin negara A mungkin mempunyai sex ratio 95, negara B mungkin mempunyai nilai 98, next country maybe 101 dan sebagainya, right? But the range from 95 to 102 is considered as a standard sex ratio. Anything outside of the range of this 90 to, sorry, which one is 90 to 105? I think this. Let me check on this later on. Maybe this is a wrong typo error, but I will. Yeah, I mean, this is talking about extreme lah. Maksudnya below 90, this is correct. Below 90 and above 105 and above, that is considered as extreme. Extreme maksudnya kalau extreme low atau extreme high lah. Maksudnya anything less than 90 ratio-nya, there are too few men. Too few males, sorry, yeah, and above 105, that is considered as too many men, for example. All right, but this also may differ by subgroups and also by locality. So you even within Malaysia, for example, let's say we have, we can check on this actually. Ada data tadi, we can try and check on this and find what is the sex ratio, right? For Malaysia. Let's just stop for a moment. I'll try to find. Yeah, if you want to Google, boleh tahu lah. Not sure whether it's readily available, but I think this data are. Let's say sex ratio in India sebagai contoh ya. So in India 943 females per 1,000 males. Dia gunakan 1,000 instead. Yeah, but it's about 94 lah, 94.3 per 100. I'm sorry, this is dia gunakan terbaliknya. Another 1,000 males for every 943 female. Maksudnya lebih ramai lelaki daripada perempuan. Ya, di apa nama dia di India. Okay, cek lagi di mana sex ratio di Malaysia. Siapa ada handphone boleh juga lah nak cari maklumatnya. Okay, sex ratio in Malaysia 102.5. What does it mean? 102.5 male per 100 female. Maknanya lebih ramai lelaki di Malaysia pada estimate ya by in the year 2020, right? Daripada perempuan, slightly more, but that is within the acceptable, more or less acceptable range tadi lah. Slightly more than 0.2, 102 tadi, but it's not, it doesn't fall into the extreme, region. Okay, jadi kalau kita nak kaji mungkin di Sarawak lain, di Kelantan lain, di Selangor lain, it may be differences, even between ethnic group, Melayu, Cina, Iban, Badayu, Kadazan, you may find differences in terms of the sex ratio. Okay, but here we are looking at the country level. All right. Did you find anything interesting? Okay, there's a report here. New Straits Times, May 2020. Ya, menyatakan bahwa Malaysian population in May 2020 32.7 million with males outnumbering female. Oh, lagi hebat. 107 males per 100 female. That was in May 2020 statistik. Ini dah lebih dah ni. Extreme, extreme region ya. Lebih ramai lelaki dan perempuan. Okay. Kalau nak lihat history-nya, I'm just sharing with you some of this figure. We don't have 2020. Some conflicting figures here. For example, according to this website, in 2020, 105.69 male per 100 female, down from 106.12 male per 100 female in 2015. So ada turun lah. I mean, previously it was quite high in 2015, 106 male per 100 female. Anyway, so sudah turun kepada 105 point something. Okay, so that's just to illustrate that there may be differences and also changes in terms of the sex ratio. In US, for example, the sex ratio is lower in the urban areas. Okay, urban areas, remember, because of greater migration of women to the cities. Jadi that's part of the reason lah. So kita di Malaysia agak-agaknya lah, agak-agaknya. Do you think the same trend is also happening, where more women migrating to cities as well? If that is happening, if that is the case, then you may find that in the urban areas of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur atau dan sebagainya, we may have a lower sex ratio in the urban areas compared to the rural areas, for example. Okay, so kita boleh buat kajian sebenarnya, asalkan kita ada data lah untuk membuat analisis ini. Okay, and then also another example, sex ratio migrants are often extreme. Bagi migrants lah. For example, in Colombia, Ecuador, Colombia 141. In other words, 141 male for 100 females. Ecuador 149, Italy 152 in 1997. Sebabnya adalah yang migrants yang datang ke tempat tersebut ataupun negara tersebut adalah kaum lelaki. Ya. Border, cross border, international migration. Okay. So it is happening. Jadi meningkat disebabkan oleh certain group of people, category of people who are migrating. In this case, it was male. More males are migrating to another country than they are female. Okay. Alright. So itu berkenaan dengan sex ratio. Boleh faham tadi sex ratio? Mungkin kita boleh buat nanti some exercise lah untuk untuk membuat analisis terhadap sex ratio, age dependency ratio dan sebagainya. Okay, so itu berkenaan dengan sex ratio. Jadi that is just looking at demography secara looking at the statistics secara melihat dari segi populasi saja. Tapi dari segi implikasinya sebagai pelajar social science, I think we have to look beyond the numbers, looking beyond the numbers. So what if there are more males than female? Or so what if there are more females than male? Jadi mungkin ada masalah. Jadi China, for example, let me just go back. That is sex ratio in China. I think they have improved a bit. Okay, hold on. Not bad. 2009, the sex ratio for population, 2019, sorry. Sex ratio of the population in China ranged at an approximate 104.5 males to 100 female. Okay. Kalau dibandingkan dengan masa dahulu lah. Right. So let's just check 19 earlier on, for example. In 1950s memang sangat-sangat rendah. Okay, that's how far can we go from here. Actually not bad. Correct. Betul lah. Memang lebih ramai lelaki dibanding dengan perempuan. Yes. Even now it's skewed to the male, more males than female. But not as bad as in the 1950s. 1953, for example, 107.56. So extreme lah, kira extreme. Sampai tahun bila? Sampai tahun 2015 barunya masuk ke zon selamat. In other words, 105 and below, males per female. So overall masih ramai lelaki dibanding dengan perempuan di China. Sorry. Okay, so move on to population pyramid, right? So we've seen earlier on apa yang dimaksudkan dengan pyramid tadi. So pyramid ataupun population pyramid refers to the bar graph constructed from age, sex data, which are stacked together to depict or to show the age and sex structure. Yeah? So when we do this pyramid, it's easier for us to see actually. Yeah. So you can compare visually the size of a series of classes between male and female. Yeah. So male female graph are presented together in a particular way based on or stacked together mengikut kumpulan umur. Yeah. So it is constructed by absolute frequency ataupun menggunakan percentage. Yeah, depends. Yeah. You can use absolute frequency dan kita boleh juga gunakan percentage. Either way, it works. Yeah. For example, if you want to for the age group of 20 to 24, this is how we do the calculation lah. Jadi kita excuse me for each categories umur ya, kita boleh buat calculation ya. For example, we want to know what is the percentage of female between the age of 20 to 24 ya, in the total population. Kita we take the data ataupun ambil bilangan yang perempuan yang berumur 20-24 tahun, kita bagi ke dengan the total population ya of the country, for example ya, total population. Sebagai contoh, hold on. Sebagai contoh, kalau katakanlah ya, this is just to illustrate ya. So let's say for this population 20-24, katakan 100 orang ya, dalam populasi kecil lah. And then the total population is 10,000 for example ya, total population of the country. Jadi maksudnya kita bagikan 100 tadi dengan 10,000 dan didarabkan dengan 100. That will be the percentage lah for that particular group. Itu sebagai contoh ya, how you do the calculation. Right. Okay, so it's a pyramid, yeah. Where on one side of the pyramid is the male, on the other side is the female. Okay, so you have the corresponding number, the number of female for each category, and number of male for each category of age. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of the characteristics, yeah, as time pass, yeah, apabila masa berlalu, there will be more young people forming the wider base. Thus the term pyramid was introduced. Jadi itu disebabkan ataupun that's how the term pyramid comes around, ya, population pyramid. Kenapa? The number of young people who are at the base tadi lah, ya, adalah besar. Okay, so presenting the pyramid is quite straightforward, and it is sometimes superimposed by time period or categories dan sebagainya. Jadi boleh di superimpose dengan faktor lain lah. Okay, so two forms of pyramid. The classical pyramid is the one that is the triangular in shape, yeah, triangle, broad base and tipping towards the top. Yeah, that's the triangular population distribution. The other on this one, by the way, is common for traditional society and also for the less developed countries, yeah, where the number of children are still relatively large. Right? The second form of pyramid is known as a rectangular population distribution. Actually, it doesn't even look like a pyramid at all. Yeah, the second one, but it is called a pyramid. Still called population pyramid, by the way. Yeah, just a term. Jadi, but the bentuknya ataupun the shape is much like a rectangular shape. Yeah. Right. So this is just to show you. This is the triangular shape, the original ataupun the traditional, where you have a broader base, a lot of younger population, and then as the age group goes up, the less and less people are living to older age lah maksudnya. Now, this, as I said, this is where you can look down here too. This is reflected by high birth rate, di mana kadar kelahiran masih tinggi, but there is a rapid fall in each upward age group due to high rate of death. Jadi yang menyumbang kepada apa nama ni group, sorry, the shape makin tipis ya ke atas itu adalah disebabkan oleh kadar kematian yang tinggi, and also short life expectancy. So something like Afghanistan, for example, yeah, where you find this kind of shape, yeah, where the death rates are still high, yeah, compared to countries in the West which is rectangular shape, yeah. So it goes through transition actually, yeah. It doesn't just transform from this kind of pyramid to this rectangular. It goes through transition. All right. So for example, Malaysia could be somewhere around this region, yeah. Not quite like this, but we are not quite like this yet. Yeah? We still maintain that the shape of pyramid, but in a different form. Okay, so stage 2 is where the high birth rate still maintained, and there's a fall in the death rate. Now you bandingkan dengan remember the theory that we talked about early on, the demographic transition theory. That would be something similar lah, where you find that the birth rate lambat turun daripada kadar kematian. Yeah, so, right, fall in death rate is more living in middle age and slightly longer lifespan. And then moving forward, go to stage 3. This is where there is a declining birth rate, yeah, from high to lower birth rate, and death rate maintains low, and more people will be living to old age, yeah. And then stage 4 is where the birth rate is really low birth rate, yeah, and but at the same time also low death rate. Jadi what contribute to that is the base tu semakin kecil, ya, semakin kecil. So eventually leading to a higher dependency ratio, particularly for old age lah, ya, yang 65 and above, and longer life expectancy. So, jadi itulah the changes from transition from classical to rectangular pyramid tadi, ya, dan sebab mengapa ianya berlaku. Okay. I would like to stop here for a while. Yeah, kita take a break for 5 minutes or so, then we will continue again after that. Boleh ya?
Boleh.
Okay. Alright. So kita continue baliklah nanti ya. So let me stop the recording, pause the recording sekejap. Okay, boleh nampak ni slide?
Boleh.
Okay, thank you. All right, so look at the classic pyramid, where really shaped like a triangle with a very broad base. Okay, so the distribution is exponential with wide base. In other words, there are more children, but the rate of mortality between the different age group, yeah, as the age group goes higher, ianya mortality rate-nya meningkat. Ya. So that's why it's apa nama shaped like a triangle instead of maintaining broader base macam ni kan. So high birth rate is a characteristics of this classic pyramid, and also high death rate, and also potency. Yeah, and this is typical for less economically developed countries. In other words, for poor countries who have limited access to birth control, and also on top of that, poor hygiene, and also have little access to health services. Jadi itu menyumbang kepada apa namanya kadar kematian yang tinggi, right? And also more female in this group compared to male. Female tend to have a longer lifespan. So you could see as you go up top, there'll be less number of people on the blue side compared to the red or whatever color you can see for your screen there. Yeah, right. So that is the reason for that. Yeah. All right. Then changes to rectangular population distribution, where the base becomes narrower or narrow base, indicating that there are fewer children and young people, okay, compared to the triangular base. So there is a lack of change in size between also, maknanya kalau tadi the shape dalam triangle tadi ya, on this side this is a drastic change in terms of the size from one band edge band to another, but in this one the lack of change in size between the edge band, indicating that the death rate is very low. Maksudnya people who are in this age group can live up here and not dying, instead of macam dalam pyramid tadi, as you go up here your chances of dying is higher, but not so much in this modern society or apa namanya negara sudah maju lah, this kind of shape. Okay, so because of very low death rate, so people have the tendency to live till old age, boleh hidup sampai umur tua. Okay, so characteristics of this pyramid is where you have low birth as well as low death rate and longer lifespan for the people in this country, on this region. And this is typically for the more economically developed countries, where among other things, where contraception is widely used, and that contributes to the low birth rate. And also they have good public hygiene system and also hair care, which contribute to the low death rate tadi. Jadi itu menyumbang kepada how it contribute to this shape, rectangular shape tadi. Okay. Then this is just an example, showing the different shapes and also the stages lah. This is where it is called concave sides. This one is straight side, more or less straight like that. This one concave, curve there. Ini convex sides, some more convex. But never mind about that shape. So this is high birth rate, high death rate. Seperti yang saya tunjukkan awal tadi lah. Compared to on this side, we have very low birth rate, low death rate. Okay, so another example of a country, for example, in this shape is Niger. Niger is not Nigeria. Niger is another country in Africa. Stage 2 is where example of Haiti. Malaysia probably is about here. Stage 2 kind of pyramid. And here we have stage 3, be example could be Morocco, Singapore, and many other countries, more advanced countries, more advanced developing countries, sorry. And this is typical of many of the developed countries like Australia, Canada, Germany, and all that, having this kind of shape. Okay. Hold on. Let me share with you this one. Video. Okay, yep. Let me stop the share. I'm sharing with you a slide. Yeah, I'm sorry, slide because slide video. Hopefully this time dia punya suara boleh dengar.
Now, for those of you who have never heard of this,
Ada suara kah?
Russia, with the largest territory in the world, has
Ada,
a total population
sir.
as Nigeria, a country 1/16 its size. But this similarity won't last long. One of the populations is rapidly growing, while the other is slowly declining. What can this tell us about the two countries? Population statistics are some of the most important data social scientists and policy experts have to work with. But understanding a country's situation and making accurate predictions requires knowing not just the total size of the population, but its internal characteristics, such as age and gender distribution. So how can we keep track of all that data in a way that makes it easy to comprehend? Complex data is more easily interpreted through visualization, and one of the ways that demographers represent the internal distribution of a population is the population pyramid. Here, the data is divided by gender, with females on one side and males on the other. The population numbers are shown for each 5-year age interval, starting from 0 to 4 and continuing up to 100 and up. These intervals are grouped together into pre-reproductive, 0 to 14, reproductive, 15 to 44, and post-reproductive years, 45 and up. Such a population pyramid can be a powerful predictor of future population trends. For example, Rwanda's population pyramid shows it to be a fast-growing country. With most of the population being in the youngest age groups at the bottom of the pyramid, the number will grow rapidly in the coming years. As today's children reach their reproductive years and have children of their own, the total population is almost certain to double within the next few decades. For our second example, let's look at Canada, where most of the population is clustered around the middle of the graph. Because there are less people in the pre-reproductive age groups than there are in the reproductive ones, the population will grow more slowly as the number of people reaching their reproductive years decreases. Finally, let's look at Japan. Because the majority of its population is in its post-reproductive years, and the number of people is smaller at each younger interval, this means that at current rates of reproduction, the population will begin to decline as fewer and fewer people reach reproductive age. Comparing these three population pyramids side by side shows us 3 different stages in the demographic transition as a country moves from a pre-industrial society to one with an industrial or post-industrial economy. Countries that have only recently begun the process of industrialization typically see an increase in life expectancy and a fall in child mortality rates as a result of improvements in medicine, sanitation, and food supply, while birth rates remain constant, leading to a population boom. Developing countries that are farther along in the industrialization process begin to see a fall in birth rates due to factors such as increased education and opportunities for women outside of childrearing, and a move from rural to urban living that makes having large families less economically advantageous. Finally, countries in advanced stages of industrialization reach a point where both birth and death rates are low, and the population remains stable or even begins to decline. Now let's take a look at the projected population pyramids for the same 3 countries in 2050. What do these tell us about the expected changes in each country's population? And what kinds of factors can alter the shape of these future pyramids? A population pyramid can be useful not only as a predictor of a country's future, but as a record of its past. Russia's population pyramid still bears the scars of World War II, which explains both the fewer numbers of elderly men compared to elderly women and the relatively sudden population increase as soldiers returned from the war and normal life resumed. China's population pyramid reflects the establishment of the one-child policy 35 years before, which prevented a population boom such as that of Rwanda, but also led to sex-selective abortions, resulting in more male children than female children. Finally, the pyramid for the United States shows the baby boom that followed World War II. As you can see, population pyramids tell us far more about a country than just a set of numbers, by showing both where it's been and where it's headed within a single image. And in today's increasingly interconnected world facing issues such as food shortages, ecological threats, and economic disparities, it is increasingly important for both scientists and policymakers to have a rich and complex understanding of populations and the factors affecting them.
Okay. So that was quite a handful of information. Sorry. That
Sorry. Hello guys. Do you need a little help?
Sorry, kejap go back to, I didn't share that one, did I? No. So that short video was quite informative actually, just to show you the significance of population pyramid, right? First of all, it is simple. Well, simple in the sense that easy to see, right? In terms of the patterns of the population in the country. And also you can compare between countries if you compare the pyramid of one country with the pyramid of another country, right? And also the the corresponding factors which affect the shape of the pyramid as well. Yeah, I think there were terms like pre-reproductive age or group, or years rather, reproductive years, post-reproductive years. The reproductive years itu merujuk kepada kumpulan umur yang daripada 16 tahun ataupun 17 tahun hingga ke umur 44 tahun, maybe those are reproductive years, yeah. And then the pre-reproductive years are referring to the children who are below, let's say 15 years old, yeah. Young will never have children of their own, yeah. Jadi they cannot have children, in other words, yeah, no birth from them. The post-reproductive years are those people who are aged like 45 and above. They've gone through that stage of reproductive already. I mean, talking about women, yeah. Okay. All right. So Rwanda, example of developing countries which have that particular like a pyramid shape, yeah, real classical pyramid shape. And Canada, which has a different shape. Even Japan, that looks like a pagoda rather than a pyramid, yeah. So there are history behind that. Histories behind all those development in terms of the structure of the population, yeah, yang menyebabkan kenapa berlaku demikian, yeah. But basically, it's one of the main factors is development lah, I would say, yeah. Development contributes to the changes in the shape of the pyramid, from a typical triangular shape to a more rectangular shape. Okay. Can we go on? Kita move on to the next. All right. Moving on. A few more slides to go. Okay. These are some examples. Are you still with me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank
Yes, Prof.
susah lah, takut hilang. Okay. Some examples of population pyramids. Just to see the variations. Contoh, this one, Uganda. This is in Africa. This is in 2018. Not much change. Even talking about 2020, I think the shape is about the same. All right. Very broad base and then very narrow as you go up to the top. Jadi kalau kita lihat di sini yang berumur let's say 65 and above, where is it? Around here kan? 0.4%, 0.3 more or less, that's 0.7, 0.7, about 1%, 1.1, yeah, about 1.2% of the population, ataupun less than 2%, put it that way, of the populations are age 65 and above. Okay, dibandingkan dengan negara that I've shown you earlier on, contohnya di Central America and so on, even Central America is still higher than that. Jadi ini typical of a very poor countries, backward country, poor country as well. Okay, so karakteristiknya high birth rate lah, right? Very high birth rate and also very high mortality rate. You see. Imagine if the mortality rate is low, you will see that the shape of the pyramid will be something like from here, here to here, but not in this one, right? So this is a result of a lot of dying, ataupun kematian pada setiap peringkat. Another example, that's Indonesia, right? much better compared to Uganda, right? Ini pun dah masuk ke macam nak rectangular, but still have that sharp end at the top there, right? So if you look at this, yang 65 and above, 1.1, 1.7, that's about 2%, 2.6, 2.7, maybe about 3%, of the populations are 3 to 4% of population are age 65 above, still considered as a young population. Kalau kita gunakan kategori ataupun approach yang 65 above tadi kan. Kalau nak gunakan 15 and below approach tadi, you just total up di sana 4.5 plus 4.5, so that's about 9 plus 4.5, 13.6. That's about 18, about 18% below 15 lah, right? So it is an intermediate. It's not really a young country, but I would say that's an intermediate between old and young. Malaysia, banding kita, ini Indonesia, ini Malaysia. We have a bulging group yang besar di sini adalah yang kumpulan umur 34 tahun di antara 25 34 tahun, 25 hingga 35 tahun. This is the biggest group tetapi lebih so we have a narrow base. In other words, the birth rate yang ada di Malaysia itu semakin turun And then kalau nak banding ke tadi, umur 65, kita pun masih kurang juga lah, right? Sorry, I should double the count tadi, bukan male plus female. So kalau Indonesia tadi is about 6% lah. Kita di Malaysia is about 1.3, 1.4, 2.7. Plus 2, 3.5.7 plus 1, 6.7 plus 6.6, 7 plus something, 8. So maybe about 8% of all age, ya, yang ada di Malaysia yang berumur 65 tahun ke atas. Ya, tapi kalau kita ambil kumpulan 60 ke atas, we have bigger lah. Tapi menggunakan 65 mungkin kurang. So we may be using that category 64 and above. So we are at maybe about 8 to 9% of all age, ya. Okey, tapi yang ini memang kurang lah. Yang kumpulan ini, ya, perempuan dan lelaki combine memang semakin berkurangan. Okay, maybe a few changes, but not much significant than 2018, ya, kita yang ada sekarang. Okay, China, ini pula China, right? Where the shape is very much different from Indonesia, from the traditional classical pyramid, ya, very much narrower base, ya, disebabkan oleh kadar fertility yang sangat-sangat kurang, right? The biggest group are this group ya lah. These were the cohort yang masih tinggi dulu, di mana there was still tidak ada control, tidak ada policy one child policy among these people who are age 40 and above. Tidak ada control dulu. In fact, Mao Zedong during that time as a president of People's Republic of China encourage bigger family size and all that. Yeah. Tapi apabila the new administration later on decided to control, and this is the result of the controlling birth rate tadi. Yeah, this group ya. Okay, that's China. Kalau kita bandingkan dua-dua tadi, Malaysia dengan China, we are still progressing towards rectangular, yeah, but in different shape. Jadi, so actually kalau nak buat kajian, memang ada kaitan, ada sebab-sebab yang menyebabkan kenapa shape, ada peringkat umur di sini lain daripada yang lain dan sebagainya. There are events, ya, events which took place, sama ada dari segi polisi ataupun dari segi kejadian yang berlaku di sebuah negara yang menyebabkan perubahan, ya, kepada the shape of the pyramid. Okay, so I think for example here is the impact of education, for example, and then participations of women and labor force and so on, ya, itu menyumbang kepada penurunan ataupun kurangnya, ya, birth fertility ataupun birth rate di kalangan rakyat di Malaysia, for example. Okay, and when you compare different countries mengikut time frame-nya, contohnya this is Japan. Japan memang dah lama dah, ya, dari segi decline in fertility, ya. It has gained this shape in the 1990 ke apa, tetapi tak berapa jelas. So it has achieved this level lebih awal daripada negara contohnya China dan juga US, ya. So it has evolved through these stages, ya. China also slowly evolving into this shape what they have now, yeah. So different countries went through a different phase of evolution in terms of the population pyramid. Okay, dan seperti saya katakan tadi, polisi sesebuah negara banyak, ya, mempengaruhi, that influence the shape of the pyramid. Okay, and whatever happening socially, culturally, and all that, related to each of the countries yang menyebabkan perubahan tersebut. Alright, so we just comparing these three countries. Yeah, Japan, for example, 1990 had a lot of workers who were in their early 40s, and those are the prime working age. Plus, also they have a contingent of. Tapi these days there are very few teens, ya, tak banyak orang muda, and lots of old folks, ya, all folks who are older than 60. As I said just now, Japan has the most number of dari segi percentage, ya, of old age people, ya, Japan. Jadi kalau nak kaji tentang masalah ataupun isu old aging ini ataupun old age ini, Japan is a good example how they deal with the problem of old age. Okay, there are a lot of documentaries, yeah, with regard to issue of old age or aging in Japan. Yeah. Okay, China pula in 1990 was incredibly young. Still the impact of the after effects, and also the state of development in China was not as it is now, right? So the death rate was still high. So China was incredibly young dari segi characteristic population, with almost nobody, yeah, but now it is rapidly aging as well, yeah, with substantial contingent of workers in their 40s. Yeah, US is probably the best looking, which has a nice evenly distributed population, where the shape of the pyramid isn't changing that much, yeah, partly because US immigration keep population from getting too old. Jadi ini satu perkara yang penting, ya. US immigration, and in other words, the people who come into the country, migrating into the country from the southern part, yeah, through New Mexico, and also through Texas, yeah, where it borders with Mexico and other countries there. So these young people still migrating to the US looking for jobs and so on, right? So that's keep the population of US young, yeah. In other words, the proportion of young people in US is still maintained as high because of the impact of immigration. Right? Okay. All right. So what's the use of population pyramids? There are several uses. Provides input about age structure in general. Okay. Itu pertama. Yang keduanya, it identifies economic dependence, support, those who are below 15 and 65. Okay, jadi kita boleh gunakan pyramid untuk mengenal pasti, ya, bilangannya, how many, and also as we mentioned earlier on, any data on demography for planning purposes. Yep. Okay, so planning for the future to make prediction in terms of the changes in the age structure over the next 50 years. Yeah, you can do that too. So in other words, whatever data we have now based on the pyramid and so on will be useful, yeah, for us to make prediction on the needs for the future. Okay, for example, in UK, the insurance plan for the elderly, and also the pay to how much pensions need to be provided and so on. Ya, sebab kalau kita tahu berapakah bilangan populasi atau percentage population who are going to be old and need to be paid pension or whatever or similar, benefits and so on. So the government will have to plan in terms of to cater for the needs of this growing old age population, for example. There are also explanation to the unique form of the pyramid reflecting a particular population. We have seen, for example, the issue of migration, the issue of events, contohnya the World War I, World War II, and how it impact the sudden growth in the population, like the booming period, baby boom and all that. That event also explain why certain age group seems to be bigger than the other group in the pyramid. Another example, Germany has more males aged between 20 to 25 compared to female. And normally it's about the same kan. Tapi it so happened that in Germany, the age group of this 20-35, these are young working age group. This is the result of the influx of immigrants, migrants yang datang daripada Turkey, datang daripada Yugoslavia, who came to work in Germany in the 1990s, and they left their families behind. So the children they didn't bring, the wife they didn't bring. So they just mostly the men who seek employment in Germany during this time, because they are close to Germany, both of these countries. That explain the the bulging ataupun peningkatan kaum lelaki yang begitu ramai dibanding perempuan. Okay. One good question: what causes? I mean, Afghanistan is an example of a country with mempunyai pyramid yang agak classical in shape, So what causes higher mortality rate among women in Afghanistan, in contrast to male? Jadi sebaliknya, kalau di some other countries it's about 50-50 or even slightly more men, but not as bad as in Afghanistan, for example. And we have some documentary yang trying to explain the situation in Afghanistan, why the rate of mortality in Afghanistan among women is higher compared to male. So let me share with you this one. I'll stop share this one and then mana tadi? Let me go back. Okay, this is one thing. Get about that. This is the article actually from regarding how do I get rid of this thing? Okay, go ahead. Okay, this is the article. Let me read a few lines here. Okay, boleh nampak kan?
Boleh.
Yeah, okay, all right. So let me just read to you. So Afghanistan has the worst rate of maternal mortality. Maksudnya kematian ibu lah, maternal mortality in the world. The latest World Health Organization data shows. All right. So what causes that? It's a mix of several reasons lah. One, inaccessibility, poverty, and also cultural barriers to women's healthcare, conspiring against expectant mothers, especially perempuan yang expecting, mengandung. So for example, one woman in Afghanistan, 1 in every 11 women of reproductive age will die of causes related to pregnancy and birth during her childbearing years, according to WHO. Dan dibandingkan dengan in neighboring Tajikistan, that figure is 1 in 430. So 1 in 11 compared to in neighboring country 1 in 430, right? Right. In other countries just 1 in several thousand, right? Tapi di Afghanistan dia keadaannya agak teruk sangat lah, ya. So reason why do so many women die in pregnancy and birth? Okay, a tradition of early marriages is one of those lah, yeah. Early marriages and lack of effective family planning mean that women often have babies very young and very frequently, which can increase the risk of health complications, ya, dan sebagainya, ya. So girls who give birth before age 15 are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than women in their 20s, according to United Nations figures. Yeah. So based on UN report, some studies showed that half of all Afghan girls were married before that age, yeah, before the age of 15. So a weak economy is another one that contribute to that. Yeah, conflict. A lot of conflicts in Afghanistan anyway. Yeah, war conflict. That has also has its tolls on public health provision, clinics, hospital, state-funded, while state-funded few and often limited to urban areas. Ya. Jadi kebanyakannya yang tinggal di kawasan luar bandar, and those are people who suffer the most. Ya. Also lack of trained human resources, particularly midwives, ya, yang boleh membantu dalam proses melahirkan anak dan sebagainya. Okay, so the geography of Afghanistan also and poor infrastructure mean that it can be physically difficult to get women from home to hospital that do exist. Ya, jadi so agak susah lah, ya. Transportation is difficult. With car ownership still very low, women are transported by motorbike, donkey, or even wheelbarrow to clinics. Ya, jadi so those are some of the reasons. Jadi maybe you can show something else later on. So let me close this one. Mana tadi? Close this. Stop sharing, and then continue with our lecture again. Alright, so those are the things yang menyumbang kepada kadar kematian di kalangan wanita, ya, particularly those reproductive group of women. Alright. This is also another one lah, which you can also read. This is a video actually. Okay. Boleh nampak kan?
Boleh.
Okay. Audio tak ada masalah. Alright. Let's watch this for a while, yeah, for just a few, about 6 minutes or something.
سلام، خوبی؟ میشه دوستی شما رو ببینم؟ خانم حسن‌زاده این مریض این طرف خو she has a burn on her face and also her hands and it's accidental case, explosion of gas. باعث میشه خیلی دو کیسر همین قسم شد که من خود مریض رو پانسمان کردم چون میفهمیدم که مشکلات داره. مریض پانسمان کردم به جریان پانسمان خب مریض گفت که من شوهرم این کار کرده در حالی که قبلا کاملا انکار میکرد. خب دلیلی هم این بود که میگفت اگر من به جریان قرار بودم امکان زیاده که او هزینه امی تداوی مر نپردازه. اما دوستی نر بده خدیجه خوبی؟ دست میدی خود من؟ خوبی؟ خب چه قسم دوا خود گرفته کمک میکنه خود شما؟ ها؟
این گوشا بالا کدام این گوشه من این گوشا خیلی درد میکنه یک بار نیپو بردم نی زنده موندم
چرا او چی کرد؟ چی اتفاق افتاد؟
زیاد جنگ میکرد آقا تلخی
Because her husband, she got physical violence, she got like a psychological violence.
میخوام که زندگی خواهد سر نو شروع کنم
خب اینجا شلتر هسته، شلترهای هسته که پناهگاه همونجا شما میتونیم که آموزش ببینیم، هم خیاطی یاد بگیریم، هم سواد شاید داشته باشیم شما، هم میتونیم که اونجا زندگی کنیم. بچه شما رو هم به پیش شما میگذارم، بچه هم صاحب تعلیم و تربیه میشه. شما میخوایم که طلاق از او بگیریم، یعنی اگر طلاق بگیریم قانون بچه شما رو به خود شما میده.
میگم نمیده
میده، قانون بچه رو برای خود شما میده تا 7 سالگی.
چی ما رو آزاد کنی بچه خور میبینی، اگه نکردی دیگه میگه بچه خور بخواه ببینی ما تو سخترم به کار نداریم. تو سختش تو
Just interruption. Ini anak dia, anak Khadijah tadi. Khadijah was married to this family and she was abused actually. Tapi mengikut from the in-law side, different story. But the real story was different. Yeah, jadi she was abused by her husband, and so she was burned, and that's where she ended up in the hospital.
سخته شدی تپه تپی تو دیگه به درد ما نمیخوری.
چال داری؟ با وکیلت خسای نزده مکین امیر میمونای ما آمده ده میخانه ششته یک
Yeah, meantime, her husband was in jail. Yeah, and that's when he called his father, Khadijah's in-law.
گرفته تیل از زیر خالی کرده در قسمت سینه خود، گوگل از زیر دامان خود گرفته تا درد داده، یک مرضیون بود رفته بیرو افتاده دیگه چپه شده. این بچه خودش چیک زد یا یاسین؟ خودش چیک زده. خودش کی چیک زده این خسته. یاسین دویده کدی دستای خود، دستای یاسین هم سوخته بود. کدی دست خود تکره کالا را. خب کالای جون آدم هم میچسبانه. کلش استراتژیست. فهمیدی یک
فرمت صدا رو شنید گفتم آفر
یکی چی قضا شنید که می اومد اینی سماوات تاو داشت ما چی ما یخ داشت اینو گرفت دادم سرش خالی کرد.
Okay, this is Khadijah's father, right? Khadijah's father. His side of the story.
دیگه تو امروز به شفاخانه برو ای بر بیا کسی میگم چرا دخترت خورد درد داده ایت شده. خب دیگه من هرچی باشه آدم ناراضی.
صورت بر صورت خب پاماد ندارن؟ آها نه این خیلی هم خوبه باشه بیبین تا این خیلی هم اتفاقا نرم میکنه صورت شما. خب برای من گفت که یعنی مریض ما چون مشکل داشت، خب من شوهر زوجیران قرار دادم که اگر خانم شما ممکن هست که فوت کنه. برای من گفت مرگ و زندگی هم از طرف خدایه و یک برای خیلی عادی بود. بعد از اینکه مدتی او به اتاق منتن بود و من با او همیشه چون دکتر بودم میرفتم همیشه میگفتم خانم زهرا چقدر زیبایی، دختر تو خیلی زیبایه. میگفت تو اولین کسی هستی که برای من گفتی تو زیبایی. به خانه پدر مادرم برایم نگفت و همیشه شوهرم میگفت تو بدرنگترین خانم دنیایی. و این فکر میکنم برای یک خانم خیلی حس بد ایجاد میکنه.
خورد بودم که مادر من فوت کرد. شاید عروسی کنم خوشبخت شم. عروسی هم کردم بدبخت شدم.
مصاحبه داشتم، اصلا نتونستم اشک خود کنترل کنم، چون شبایی که اونا میآین من از یک خانم خیلی تحت فشار قرار میگیرم.
Okay, so that's the story of a young lady. I mean, considered still quite young actually. She has her firstborn baby, but she was subjected to abuse, yeah, by the husband, and how she ended up getting married to the family suami dia is because of poverty actually, yeah. The father could not raise her. I mean, so in a way, give her away for a fee or for macam kena jual lah more or less, ya, kepada husband side because of debt and all that, yeah. So and her mother died when she was young. So that's the story, and this is just probably just a typical ataupun the tips of the iceberg, ya. Banyak lagi perkara yang sama yang berlaku di negara tersebut. That's why this documentary was meant, just to reflect on what was happening in that country. Okay, so abuse. All right, so how do you relate it to the apa nama ni, pyramid tadi adalah boleh kita lihat mungkin a certain age group mungkin lebih maybe the reproductive age group mungkin kurang, ya, percentage of women compared to men at that particular age group tadi. Itu maybe one of the explanation for the shape of the pyramid. Okay, let me go back to the lecture tadi slide, ya. Alright, jadi hold on. This was supposed to be earlier on tadi, ya. The immigrant effect of the total population in Germany tadi, the impact tadi. This is where we're talking about some of the impacts of the immigrants later on, ya. Sebab these migrants happen to be moving into Germany in 1990s, yeah, 90s, and this is the after effect, yeah. So carried out 10 years later, this is what is happening, yeah. It added up the group, ya, kumpulan umur yang ini banyak ataupun ramai, ya. Okay, so at every stage there is events which attach to each of these. Itu yang maksudkan saya tadi. Okay, again that's done to 2020, not much change, yeah. In terms of the pyramid masih sama. Okay, so that is the population pyramid. Last but not least is the remember I was telling you earlier on that the most common form of population structure adalah merujuk kepada sex and gender. But other than that, also we have structure, for example, in terms of social cultural structure of the population, right? So this is in a way it represents a subpopulation and also strata. So populations can also be categorized or characterized by social and cultural definitions, right? For example, rural, urban, that's in terms of dia punya apa nama tu location. It can be by religion and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's important to know the numbers that make up the population and ethnicity, economic status, for example, also affect demographic characteristics in terms of birth and also death rate. Jadi di kalangan populasi di dalam sebuah negara mungkin terdapat perbezaan di antara kumpulan etnik di antara etnik dan juga di antara kumpulan sosioekonomi, ya, ekonomi di kalangan penduduk di situ. Ya. For example, the first U.S. Census of 1790, it asked who in the population was free and who was slave. Jadi ini sebagai contoh ya, siapa yang jadi hamba dan siapa yang bukan. Alright, because that is also important information, ya, the socio-cultural factors. Kita di Malaysia, we are concerned about citizenships, yeah, people who are citizen and non-citizens, and also migrants, and that is included in the census, ya. Or kalau tak ada census, mungkin dari segi survey, ya, untuk menentukan. Alright, so analyzing the population using two criteria. For example, one is the social differentiation, and this is a qualitative approach, yeah, qualitative to look at the qualitative differences between groups. For example, marriage, family structure, and also ethnicity, right? So another criteria is the social stratification. Yang pertama tadi differentiation, yang kedua ni stratification. This is about the levels lah, ya, peringkat ataupun tahap, ya. In other words, looking at inequality between groups. Okay, contohnya stratification in terms of occupation, stratification in terms of region, rural, urban. Another form of social stratification can be in terms of income level, yeah, high income level, low income level, educational level, yeah, no schooling, primary school, secondary school level, and higher education, and so on. Yeah, and also maybe in terms of government policy, who is disabled, elderly people, and people who are poor, and so on. So these are a form of social stratification. Yeah, social stratification. All right. So you can analyze, in other words, the population of a country based on the socio-cultural factors, ataupun melihat kepada socio-cultural structure of the society. Now, this is just one example. Yeah, this between urban and rural population in Malaysia. Year 2000 and 2020. All right, so yellow one is rural, the orange is urban. Okay, so you can look at this in the year 2000. Yeah, about 14.5 million people are living in the urban areas, and about 8 million are in the about 9 million are in the rural areas. Okay, tapi sekarang ini the numbers have increased, of course. Yeah, we have now in 2000 about 22.6 million people are 2020 maksud saya are living in the urban areas, and about 12.2 million are living in the rural areas. So this is a form of structure, gitu, ya. So between urban and rural. Jadi masih, if you look at this in terms of proportion, I think there are now more people, slightly more in terms of percentage, people are living in the urban areas compared to before. Okay. Other things. This is between the same thing dengan urban setting dengan rural tadi. Over 70% of Malaysia's population will be urban by the year 2020, and that's quite close tadi lah, ya. Kita lihat sini tadi, not quite 70, but quite close. Okay, this is for Peninsula Sabah and Sarawak, they're quite different, right? Di Semenanjung, the rate of urbanization ataupun bilangan penduduk yang ditinggal di kawasan bandar lebih tinggi, ya. For example, in 1991, ya, di apa nama dia, di Semenanjung sudah lebih more than 50% already living in the urban areas. Okay, while as in Sarawak, I'm sorry, Sabah and Sarawak combined, probably about 30+% are living in the urban areas, ya. Tak sampai pun 40%, or more or less around that, ya. And then as of now, for example, it has grown up lah. Kedua-dua di Semenanjung dan juga di Sarawak menunjukkan peningkatan dalam penduduk yang tinggal di kawasan bandar. Tetapi kadarnya lebih tinggi di Semenanjung, right? So Semenanjung is probably about 70+%, while as in Sarawak and Sabah is just combined is probably just slightly over 50%. Ya, masih ramai lagi yang duduk di kawasan apa nama tu rural areas. So this is the percentage actually: 75 in Semenanjung, 50.9% in Sabah, Sarawak. Yeah, so that is the 50%, more or less 50%, 1991, only about less than 40% in Sabah, Sarawak, about 65% in Semenanjung year 2000, Sabah, Sarawak masih less than 50%. Okay, so itu juga menunjukkan the structure of the population berdasarkan kepada kategori urban ataupun rural tadi. Just example. Okay, so itu banyak lagi lah kalau kita nak buat. Contohnya nak menentukan pada dari segi struktur berdasarkan social culture, for example, in terms of religion, in terms of occupation dan sebagainya. Ya, kita boleh buat analisis asalkan data itu adalah, right? So as I said, some of these data are available, readily available, tetapi tidak ada yang tidak dibuat analisis, so mungkin tak nampak di situ, ya. Alright, so if you want to know, you can try get this information, get this data, and do analysis. Alright, so what are the importance of age structure? Going back to our basic question today, right? Number one, the age structure of population affects a nation's key socio-economic issues. Right? For example, if there are more working age people group in the population, that will be good for the population. Right? In other words, there is a term which demographer come up with. It is called demographic dividend. Demographic dividend ini merujuk kepada keadaan di mana kumpulan yang bekerja, right, ataupun yang very able-bodied person, ya, adalah tinggi. So because that will contribute to the growth in the economy. That's why it's called dividend, ya, contributing to the growth in the economy compared to population which older population yang kurang active economically. Okay, so countries with young population, that is high percentage for under 15, for example, needs to invest in more schools, as we've seen earlier on, while countries with older populations, those age 65 and above, may need to invest more in health sector or related infrastructure and all that. Okay. So countries with a young growing workforce have the tendency to grow faster economically, yeah, economically growing faster than other countries with older workforce. Okay, so countries with an aging and shrinking workforce will find that economic growth tends to be much harder to achieve. And Japan is one of those countries which are experiencing shrinking workforce. Yeah, jadi so one of the strategies yang digunakan di Japan adalah to re-engage people who are retired, ya, yang sudah berumur 65 tahun ke atas, but still can work. So they re-engage them, ya, menggalakkan mereka untuk continue working, mungkin dalam tempat yang sama ataupun dalam bidang yang berlainan, right? Because they have the problem of shrinking workforce, ya, number of belakangnya bekerja ataupun number of working people decreasing. Okay, sedangkan tadi di ada portion itu di dependency ataupun dependence tu meningkat, particularly di old age tadi. Okay, so the age structure can be used to help predict the potential political issues as well. Okay, jadi ini penting bagi orang politik lah. Kalau kita tahu contohnya lebih ramai orang muda daripada orang tua, mungkin the focus will be on the younger population. Itulah sebabnya sekarang ini. Tapi itu pun bergantung kepada kemana orang muda dari segi dia affiliation, ada more towards certain parties and so on. Jadi itu juga satu isu lah. That affects the decision now, I think. Why the government is holding on to untuk membenarkan yang berumur 18 tahun untuk mengundi. At least I heard from some people, from some political analysts yang mengatakan the tendency for the younger people or younger group ini yang 18 tahun, between 18-21 ini, there are many of them, and the tendency for them to vote for certain political parties too. The thing is, so they're trying to hold on to that. But don't quote me. I might be wrong. I'm just assuming. Yeah, I'm making some kind of assumptions here. Yeah. All right. So, for example, rapid growth of young adult population unable to find employment can also lead to unrest as well. Ya, jadi itu boleh mendatangkan masalah kalau tak cukup, tidak ada pekerjaan, lot of unemployment dan sebagainya. Ya, maka itu boleh menyebabkan keadaan yang kurang baik, ya, unrest ataupun keadaan yang kucak-kacir ataupun crime rate mungkin meningkat dan sebagainya. Okay. So the age structure and economics, right? So to conclude, let me see. I thought this video, will explain more or less about the age structure and economics. Just bear with me, ya. Dalam, I think less than half an hour. This one about, I don't know, probably less than that lah. Yeah, just to see the impact of age structure and economics. Okay, so this will end up our session. The rest is just more or less a summary of the topics that we have covered. Yeah? So I would like to end the session today by inviting you to watch this video for the next few minutes. Yeah, ready?
Yes.
All right. I know you're tired. I'm tired too. All right, but just for a few more minutes, kita akan lihat ini. Siap? Kejap, kejap. Okay, stop that for a while. Stop share. Reload share. Share computer. Okay, so let's go.
Research on the link between demographics and the economy shows that when a country's population changes, the economy changes with it. especially when women start having fewer children. Reduced fertility rates can have benefits for a nation's economy by starting what is known as a demographic dividend. This is when a decline in a country's fertility rate changes the age structure of the population. This shift, accompanied by the right social and economic policies and investments, opens a window of opportunity for rapid economic growth. Data from the National Transfer Accounts Project can be used to show how changing age structure can impact economic development. Let's start by looking at two countries that are at different stages of population transition: Thailand and Ethiopia. Thailand has already had a major decline in fertility, from 5.6 children per woman in 1970 to 2.1 children by 1990. Ethiopia is at the beginning of this population transition. Fertility rates have dropped since 2000, when they were 5.9 children per woman, to current rates of 4.1 children per woman. Fertility is projected to drop further over the next 50 years. Population pyramids show what happened to Thailand's age structure when the fertility rate dropped. In 1950, when fertility rates were higher, a greater proportion of the population was young. But as women had fewer children, the percent of the population that was young fell, creating a higher proportion of working-age people. In Ethiopia, a similar shift is expected to happen. The projected age structure for 2050 looks remarkably different. The National Transfer Accounts data measure how labor, income, and consumption differ across age groups. Here, consumption includes services provided by the government. Using normalized or relative values, we can compare levels across countries. For both nations, an individual's income peaks between the ages of about 35 and 50. Children and the elderly consume more than they make. The working adults who make more than they consume support the rest of the population and are the drivers of economic growth. By taking the NTA data and multiplying it by the number of people in each age group, we can see the total amount of income and consumption in a population by age. In 1950 Thailand, when there was a higher proportion of people under age 15, the total consumption by these young people exceeded income by working adults. By 2000, when Thailand had a higher percentage.
Okay, just to project a bit, this graph here shows the different stages in the history of Thailand, right? Particularly with respect to population. In the early years, they have so many children, young children, and the consumption exceeded the income generated by the working age group. And by 2000, things are different. So it has exceeded the level of consumption actually. The earnings by the working age group exceeded them. Okay.
Of working age adults, we have a different spike: expendable income. Working adults were able to earn more than they needed to support dependents. In 2000, Ethiopia's total consumption by dependents exceeded the income of working adults. This means the average working age Ethiopian has been focused on meeting basic family needs. If fertility rates continue to decline as projections indicate, we will see lower total consumption in relation to total income, like in Thailand. With fewer dependents to support, parents will be better able to invest in their children's health, education, and well-being. The government will also have more resources to invest in each person. The research shows that all other factors held constant, Ethiopia's demographic transition will open an opportunity for economic growth and improved quality of life.
Okay, so that's the case study, more or less, of two different countries, Ethiopia and Thailand. Yeah, where Thailand started early in terms of reducing its fertility rates, but also we are seeing that Ethiopia is also progressing as well. Yeah, its fertility rates is also dropping. Yeah, makin menurun, dan as a result of that, it is projected that in Ethiopia that the economy will be better than what was used to be in the past, right? Jadi itulah isunya tadi berkenaan dengan yang berkaitan dengan the topic that we discussed today, how the age structure affects the economy of the country, right? Countries with demographic dividend will have an advantage. In other words, yang demographic dividend di sini tadi adalah the proportion, the higher proportion of the working group, yeah, working age group tadi. We have that number bigger compared to the dependents, then it is advantage, because then the economy of the country will be considered will be growing faster as a result of that group. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all that I wanted to share with you untuk hari ini. Dan kalau ada soalan ataupun komen sebelum kita bersurai. I think 3 hours is quite a long lecture. But by the way, my discussion can still be continued by using our WhatsApp chat group dan sebagainya. Kalau ada soalan. Yeah, anything else? Okay, I can see names on my screen. Christian Ling, any question? You can unmute yourself. Daniel Ngoy seems to indicate you are all right. Anybody has any comment or question? No? Tak ada? Okay, kalau you still can hear me, can you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, kalau tak ada soalan, saya rasa setakat ini je lah untuk hari ini. And just for your information, the notes are already uploaded on ELIP for you to refer to. But also, hopefully, this lecture will be successfully recorded, so I can upload it on YouTube nanti on ELIP as well. Okay. Alright. So kalau tak ada apa-apa, setakat ini saja. So thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you, Prof.
Nak apa?
Thank you.
QR code kalau nak lah. The rest saya boleh dapat daripada chat nanti.
Thank you, Prof.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Prof.
All right.
Thank you, Prof.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you may leave now. I'm just taking the attendance list from the chat. Yeah? Six.